If you're planning on buying any cards from TCG Player, make sure you use our affiliate link right here in the description of our video to help support the channel. It's the best way to do it and it's free. Looking for PTGO codes? Potown Store has all the latest sets and promos instantly delivered to your email. You can use tablemon code when checking out for 5% off. Card Market is Europe's largest online marketplace for Pokemon cards. Whether you're looking for sealed product or singles, vintage or the latest sets, just follow the link in the description to find what you need. Want to show off your love for tablemon? Check out my 2021 merch. These new hoodies and shirts are available on Amazon. Click on the link in the description to get yours. This video is sponsored by the Pokemon TCG deck building website PokemonCard.io. Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video here at tablemon. Thanks so much for being here. So I'm back in Mexico after the double header weekend of Milwaukee and NAIC. And I'll start by saying they were the worst tournaments I had in terms of performance, which is really sad. There was a lot at stake for me, 2 travel awards and then obviously NAIC title. So I'm very motivated to really get ready for Worlds, but I'm also very frustrated at myself. So pardon me if I'm not very joyous or whatever. I know I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform and do well, and I was doing really well right after the pandemic. I was just going up and up and up, and then slowly went downwards, and that was frustrating. And in the end, the pressure got to me as I had the play to put myself with a 6-2 record and then hopefully get the ID to lock myself into day 2 of NAIC, logging myself both travel awards, but in the end I misplayed, so I'll get to that in a bit. This is the list that I played for NAIC. Straight up Palkia, consistent, strong, powerful, for Rita, which is really nice. And run 1 I played against Leafy and VMAX. That was a solid quick win. They started off pretty good, and then round 2 I played against the Regigigas deck, which I wasn't super happy to see, but I did play around the choice belts, sniping properly, making sure I had the right win condition with the intel and follow-ups after the Palkias and the Tool Jammer being played at the right time, along with Roxanne plus Sinnoh Temple, so I was able to take them down as well. Round 3 I played against Arceus with Flying Pikachu, and that's where things started to go downhill. I would say as I won game 1 very solidly, as I did win the coin flip and I was able to apply a lot of pressure and I won that game. And then game 2, I start with a dead draw with Aluminium and an unplayable hand. My opponent started with a dead draw with a Bidoof and an unplayable hand, but they got out of it and I didn't. So I ended up losing that game and I was like, okay, no worries, game 3, I'll get a playable hand and I'll do the same that I did in game 1 and I'll be fine. But then game 3, the same thing happened and I got a completely unplayable hand and my opponent just ran over me, so that was very frustrating. Yeah, that was like, just remember it right now, that was very frustrating. Instead of being 3-0, which is always how you want to start any tournament, of course, I was a 2-1, pretty flustered as well. And then I had lunch break, so I had all that time to dwell on what just happened. But then we came back from lunch break, sat down to play against another Regigigas deck in round 4. And what do you know, I opened with a dead hand. So I got run over very quickly on game 1. I was like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening, right? Like, it's not that like I'm making a replace, it's not anything other than I'm not even able to play the game, you know? Then on game 2, I was in the lead, and then I was very nervous. I was trying to play fast as well to make sure I had enough time to win back-to-back games if it came to that. And I used concealed cards, and because I just grabbed with my hand instead of grabbing 1 each, I grabbed 3 cards, and I did look at the 3rd card, so we called the judge, that could put back. I got a double price penalty, which thankfully didn't stop me from winning that game, specifically, as I was so far ahead, as I was able to take that one. And then in game 3, I ended up being able to beat my opponent. I think in that game it was either that game or the second game where they got rid of 4 ordinary rods at some point, and they had a Regice in their discard pile, so I went ahead and used Boss on the Regice, and I went Boss on the Regice, and so they didn't have any more Regice to power up with Regigiga, so I was able to take the game from there. So I ended up winning that round, which was felt like a big relief. And then round 5, I played against Arceus Raichu. So the Raichu was a pretty big deal against me, as they had Fluffy as well to power up. And then I got like pretty awkward draws. I wasn't able to debuff. The Raichu came out of nowhere, got one-shots, and in game 1 specifically, I wasn't able to respond to that Raichu. I let it live, and then they lost a turn, but then my hand was dead, and it was awful all around. Draws for me, and it was an awful matchup, so I ended up losing there. And so I was sitting there at 3-2 and seeing all my hope and my dreams being ripped apart from me, just because like I wasn't really being able to play, you know. Round 6, I played against a Mew VMAX deck. I won game 1 pretty solidly, just doing what Palkia does best. And then in game 2, it got really weird. I got a pretty awful start, but I was like, okay, game 1 ended up pretty quickly. Games against Mew VMAX are usually a little bit faster, so I'm going to play it out because there's still a chance. My opponent at one point split their energies, and so they had one powered up attacker, but they didn't have a follow-up powered up attacker. So I actually took a knockout with Drizzile on a Mew VMAX that I had attacked for 290 previously with a Palkia V-Star and full bench and then choice belt. And then I had powered up a Drizzile, then I went Roxanne, Path, attach energy to Drizzile since I whiffed Intillin. I wanted to use Intillin, but I whiffed it. And I took a knockout with Drizzile. And that hero Drizzile, after taking knockouts, I was able to bench another Palkia that I didn't have any afterwards. And after a couple of turns where my opponent didn't draw out of the path to the peak, all they needed to do was draw an energy, not even a stadium, and they would have won. They were at 1 price left, but I was able to overcome that somehow. So I feel like, okay, right, like it's still happening. And then in round 7, I played against an Arceus Charizard VMAX deck, which I didn't know what I was up against in the beginning. I did see Fire Energy, but I wasn't sure what was going on. And my opponent just kept surprising me. They also got a turn 1 KO on my one Palkia, as I didn't realize they could do that, so I didn't bench a second one. And then like things kept spiraling out of control. Somehow I ended up winning that game towards the end by knocking out the Charizard VMAX, and my opponent didn't have another attacker set up. And then game 2 was a little more solid as I had more information about what was going on. And so I was at 5-2 at that point. And so the next round was the win and in. And I ended up getting paired against Arceus, Malamar, Jolteon, against a player that at the end of the round, he told me that, or they told me that they've been watching my videos since they were 11 years old, and now they're a master, right? So if you're watching this, thanks so much for the games. I was very intense at that moment because it was my win and in. There was so much at stake, over $5,000 at stake just on that match, aside from whatever title or anything prestigious was at stake at NAIC. And yeah, I ended up winning game 1 solidly. I was able to run him out of attackers. I applied so much pressure that I overwhelmed him. And then in game 2, it got real tricky. They got the Jolteon set up. It ended up being pretty close. I was able to make the potential game-winning play. I went boss on the Jolteon. They knocked out my my Palkia afterwards, but they had a Malamar VMAX on the bench, like damaged at 260, 280. I don't know. They were in range of the Radiant Greninja. I hadn't used my V-Star ability yet because there was a path in play, but I still had my Temple of Sinnoh, but I didn't have a Palkia V-Star in play, so I made it so that what I would need to do was use my counter Stadium, use my V-Star, and knock out the Malamar. And I had brought a Bibarel to the active to stall them out, and they had priced the exact energies I needed them to price to be able to buy me 1 turn to be able to pull that off. But I also needed to attach an energy to the Palkia V-Star so that I could, in case they bossed up the Palkia, to the Palkia V, so that in case they bossed up the Palkia V, I could still go Melanie, attach an energy to the Palkia V-Star, as I had no more energies available in my hand outside of the one that I had already, and then I would retreat that Palkia V-Star into the Greninja, and I would use Shady Dealings to find Stadium, and then use my ability and win the game. And because I didn't attach that energy I was 1 energy short of retreating that Palkia V-Star, and I ended up losing that match. That game 2, and then game 3 I started off with a very awkward hand even though I won first, and then in turn 2 I was so flustered, I was so frustrated at myself from the previous game that I didn't realize I didn't have a Palkia V-Star in my hand, so I went balls on an Eevee and I didn't even attack it, and my opponent was unable to use Arceus V-Star, and just completely wrecked me, right, in a 6-0 beatdown in terms of prices. So I was, yeah, like, it's on me. Unlike Milwaukee, where 3 of my 4 losses were my last prize card. Like in game 3, 3 of my 4 losses were my last prize card was a card that I needed to close out the game, and I didn't have access to it. NAIC, like, it's completely on me, my mistake. Very frustrating to be in that situation based off of previous rounds where I didn't get to play at all. But yeah, much to learn from the experience. I also need to understand that I think of that money as if it was taken away, right? Whereas in reality, I've never had it, like the travel awards. I mean, so I didn't earn them, right? But I didn't have them at any point, right? I had the potential to earn them, I didn't earn them, and that's it. So moving on to Worlds, we have the Pokemon Go set coming out. We had Azul win with Flying Pikachu VMAX, so I'll probably be featuring that deck in tomorrow's video, and I'll try to keep up with the content daily as I had been doing previous to this week. I just, like, it was so many days that I was away and so many videos I had to prepare that I didn't manage to get anything ready for Saturday and Sunday or Monday, but here I am recording this, and I'll get to recording a video for tomorrow for sure, and then I'll have more time throughout the week. Then we're traveling until August, and I'm really looking forward to the World Championships. Excited about the Pokemon Go set and exploring that when it comes out. So yeah, thanks so much for hearing my rant, report, open heart. I know I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I think, like, if I don't do well, people will stop watching my content or whatever. I know that's not true. History has taught me over the 7 years I've been making content that is not true. But still, I'm very competitive. I like performing well, and I definitely don't think I lived up to my potential and my standard at NAIC based on that mistake that I made. And it couples with a couple other mistakes that I did, especially at New Jersey, where I could have also made day 2 back then, and I made a very big mistake that also cost me in the win and in. So I don't know, gonna work on my mental state and handling pressure in those key moments, because even though I've been playing at the highest level for 20 years, the pressure still gets to me, and it definitely got to me this weekend. But anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.